welcome to Sounds of Stadia podcast episode number 44. You're joining myself, Chris, and back in the room once again, my lovely co-host to my... I'll get it one day right. This way. Mr. Tom. Welcome back, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back.
It seems like a lifetime.
It
somehow.
Does.
In the world of lockdown and the internet, you miss 1 week and it feels like an eternity. And yet I haven't been out the house officially to do anything really of note for several months now. and yet this seems to be the driving thing. Below our wonderful co-host Tom, we've also got the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie as well. Johnny goes once again for episode 44. If you are new to the channel, this is your weekly gaming Stadia podcast where we talk about all platforms, as we will do this week. We've got some great Xbox news, showcase comparison talk coming up. We've got some great new exciting news for Stadia. We've got some APK file breakdowns, because we all love to talk about the details of what's coming to Stadia, in and amongst all of the stuff. But yeah, gentlemen, I think I want to start off with, obviously, we welcome you back, Tom. Nice to see you again.
Thank you very much.
We might as well welcome you back as well, Richie.
Yay.
Thanks for coming, Richie.
And here we are, episode 44. Don't forget to like the video and give us a subscribe, as it really does help with our metrics and brings you the content you love to hear. We might as well start off, lads, with Richie's retcon ritual this week. There's something we need to address. For those of you listening on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or on YouTube, or Stitcher, whatever other podcast platforms you may be listening to us on, what is that, Richie? What do we have to address to our lovely audience right now?
We've been having some audio issues over the last few weeks. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? I'm hoping that the audio is good.
This isn't an ironic.
Yeah. If I sound crap, I'm sorry for that joke. But we have been having some audio issues. We've been working behind the scenes to try and balance the audio a bit better. So hopefully right now this is nice and crystal clear and things are balanced better between the three of us.
Yeah, better balancing act. But again, we do want to address that. We try our best to bring the top quality level that you expect to see from three amateurs in their bedrooms, recording every Sunday in between our work lives and schedules and family and friends and everything else, just to bring you a lovely, crisp and clean edited podcast. But yes, as Richie said, we've been tweaking behind the scenes.
Yeah, I do actually want to thank everyone for the feedback, though, because that feedback is invaluable to us.
Is invaluable or is invaluable?
Invaluable will be without value, so it's priceless.
But
it's worth saying as well is that the whole process is still a learning. It is a learning process for us as well. So it's a learning curve, definitely. So again, we really do welcome any of the feedback that our viewers do give to us, because it helps us grow, it helps us evolve, and it helps us learn along the way as well. And sometimes I think that's quite critical to obviously providing better content. So again, if you're listening to this, whether on YouTube or on any of the podcast platforms, reach out and let us know if you've got any tips with things like this too, because we're always very much looking for ways to sort of move this forward and improve things for you too.
100%. And we've all learned along the way. I, for one, started this thing off being like a very avid gamer, but I hadn't touched a PC, like in a laptop, outside of maybe a Word document here and there in a long time. So getting familiar with how audio, gain, boost, all that kind of stuff, buying microphones, lights, it's a crazy setup. But here we are at episode 43.
Chris was disappointed that Mr. Paperclip was gone.
It shocked me. Get the Mr. Paperclip game on Stadia right now. That guy should not disappear into the Matrix.
Away from that worm game.
We are still waiting on that crazy worm game. We forgot about that. But anyway, you're not here for us to talk about OBS, metrics, up and down, YouTube subscriptions and all that kind of stuff. You are here for the Sounds of Stadia podcast, which, as mentioned, we're up to episode 44 right now. 44 in the docket. Speaking of making content and getting stuff right, we might as well touch on some of our housekeeping for you all this week. Myself and Richie jumped into some more crazy orc killing action fun this past Thursday with Orcs Must Die 3, which is obviously a Stadia exclusive. It is on PC, I believe. I'm not wrong in thinking that. Or is it just Stadia?
No. It is exclusive to Stadia.
Oh, I thought it was Stadia and PC.
I think it might be a timed exclusive.
That may be where I'm thinking. Part 4 of my very own Monster Boy in the Cursed Kingdom playthrough also went live this past Saturday. Go check that out. I fell into the ice caves. And I fought an ancient frog, gentlemen, an ancient frog, which I was not expecting to see. They stagger the boss fights very interestingly in that game. There's never like a definitive endpoint. It just kind of interstitially sprinkled throughout the levels, which is it's quite a surprise when you drop down the hole and there's a giant mother and frog that you eats you and you're fighting from the inside out. Yeah. Very, very crazy, but I'm having an absolute blast with that. So tune in and check that out. Fight. Unexpected boss fight, exactly. But I'd like to know, to start off with, before we get into the news, what have you two been playing?
Ooh, that is a good question. Actually, after following along with your Monster Boy playthroughs, it's actually really inspired me to jump into the game, and I'm having a really good time with it. I just think that there's something about it that it's so slick, it's so smooth when you play it as well, and like the cartoony element is just so nice to look at. And it's as you've said before on the podcast, it's misleading because it looks like it's going to be a really easy game, but it's actually such a bastard. It is really tough at times. Really
painfully tough.
But yeah, you're sort of coaxed as well to try to explore all of the different areas that you come across too, with your different powers based on what monster forms you've got unlocked and so on. And I am really sort of a lover of the Metroidvania type games, so I enjoy that element of I've unlocked a new form, so I've got a new ability, which means I can now climb up walls or something like that. So then I can go back to this area and I can sneak through a little hole, and then suddenly I found something that I didn't know I could find before. And I love that.
I don't. I like to clean up an entire area before I move on. Some Metroidvania games are annoying. Like, I don't have the ability to finish this area, but I want to finish the area.
Yeah, there has been a few times where I've came across like certain areas and I know I can access it, but I'll need to unlock something clearly later on in the level, but then I'll forget where it was at and I get lost a few times. Actually, we'll have all had this. You'll have all had this, audience out there as well. When you don't play a game for so long, so obviously I've been recording a couple of these in sections and doing 2 episodes at a time, and going back even just after a week detached, and I start the level again and I'm the pig character, I have no clue where I'm at, which direction I'm going, and the game doesn't really do that well in pointing you. It doesn't go like, oh, welcome back, you need to head back down this way. And I'm going left, I'm going right. And because the map is kind of up, down, left and right in any direction, I kind of just, there's a few times I start off and just head totally right and get to like a dead end and go, oh, it was left, I was supposed to be going. Oh, yeah. Or I've missed the little bullet point that pops up and goes, oh, meet me at the Mystic Forest. And because I've kind of read through it, but not really, because I'm trying to stream and talk at the same time, it just goes in one ear out the other, and then I'm sat there going, I have no idea where to go. There's actually a point.
Like, where's this forest again?
Yeah, there's a point in next week's video, part 5, which goes live, where I believe I do get stuck at a waterfall for around about 10 minutes. In the video, I actually check it on YouTube to see what the hell I'm doing wrong, because I get that lost. And I didn't have to go that way, and it's laughable, and you can laugh along with me because I feel like an idiot at the end of it. But that's gaming in general. Eh? We have to have a laugh. Yeah. Speaking of gaming, then, gentlemen, Richie, I know what you were playing, but anything else?
Yes, you do. Bit of Orcs Must Die. Most of it I've played on stream, but I have done a few bits off stream as well. Other than that, I did play Monster Boy for like one afternoon. But yeah, mainly Ghost of Tsushima, to be honest.
I have noticed when I've been going on Orcs Must Die, though, Richie, that you're quite high up on those leaderboards when I look at my friends list.
Oh, so I'm awesome.
I want to know what your secret is, really, because I feel like there's some sort of trap combination that you're sort of hiding away from the world here, and I feel like you need to share those details.
You know what it is? You have to get your traps laid out clean. It has to be a nice pattern. You get bonus points for having a nice pattern.
Ooh.
No, you don't really, but that's
all.
I always get frustrated if like the pattern isn't nice.
No, yeah. I'm with you on that one, Richie. I like a nice mosaic of spike trap, brimstone,
honestly,
brimstone.
I'm being a bit of a perfectionist with it, so if I in like the early rounds one orc gets past me, I'm just resetting. That's probably why I'm getting so high a score. It's just by rinsing and repeating, so I'm not just getting through the level and moving on. I'm literally coming out with like full skulls on every level before I move on.
Brilliant.
Exactly. Well, but so plenty of fun to be had out there on Stadia this week, and we have a few new game announcements to talk about later on. But before we get into all that, Tom, would you like to return? Because Richie took over for you last week, and quite frankly, he did a terrible job at it because no one could hear him. Would you like to give us a lovely loud rendition of
a nice, loud, bassy, super sexy special Stadia Story segment, aka
The news.
I thought you were going to go full Brian Blessed there, and you didn't.
Hello!
There's always room for Brian Blessed, bless him.
Stadia!
It could actually be him. It could be Flash Gordon.
I think that's how you have to intro the news now, is Brian Blessed.
With Brian Blessed. Oh, bless him, bless him. Is he? I'm right in thinking Brian Blessed. I feel like he's one of the only human beings in the world to have climbed Everest without oxygen or something. Because he's got that big lung capacity or something. He didn't need the oxygen once he got to a certain height. Don't know if we'll get it for us. Don't quote me on that. But I'm sure he's got some kind of award or accolade for reaching a certain height without the need of oxygen.
That is a bizarre fact, if that's true.
I'm pretty sure it was on. I feel like it was on QI with Stephen Fry, who's another awesome dude. Huh. But yeah, we might check that afterwards. Richie might be checking it right now. I can see his eyes scanning around.
No, I'm just reading it.
But maybe by the end of the show, we will have that Brian Blessed fact for you wrapped up. Just because we wouldn't want to leave you hanging with that kind of thing, hanging off the top of Mount Everest. Or even Everest. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be pronounced Everest. But anyway, this isn't a show where we talk about mountains. What we do want to talk about is amazing gaming platforms and all the fun and enjoyment we have throughout them. So this week we had a busy week in gaming in general, as tends to be the trend right now in the middle of summer. We are Brian blessed to have all these games coming out right now and announcements from every industry, every developer, every publisher, every console manufacturer, maker, platform under the sun. This week had a big drop of games in the form of the Xbox Showcase, which again, we know it's a Stadia podcast, but a lot of the news that's been in discussion this week around Xbox and going forward with xCloud and the comparisons with Stadia Pro, they're starting to become bigger voices in the industry. So I think we might as well address it. Gentlemen, did you both have an opportunity to check out the Xbox Game Showcase to start off with?
I had it in the background while I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, to be honest. I didn't pay full attention to it. Mainly because I'm not really that bothered about Xbox, to be honest.
It's an interesting one because I think as we sort of know, Microsoft has gone through this process of literally grabbing, like snatching each and in every little developer of video games in the middle of the night away from other people and just buying up every single studio that they possibly can. And I think it's sort of it leaves me with a bittersweet taste in my mouth when I think about it, because there's a lot of titles that I saw at the showcase that I actually would really like to play, but I'm not an Xbox guy. I haven't been since the 360. I've definitely been, like, even prior to that, I was still a Sony guy. But there were some games there that I was very, very pleasantly surprised to see and actually really liked the look of the gameplay. So I did have an opportunity to catch it. I did have an opportunity to watch through it. And yeah, there's some nice stuff there. But as I say, I've come out of it with a bit of a bittersweet taste in my mouth, really.
Yeah, so so again, we won't talk through all the games. We'll give a rundown on this. So they announced Halo Infinite, which is obviously that's their big flagship title. And this is one of my biggest things, I think, when Stadia gets a bit of a backlash where people out there are expecting this big tentpole AAA game. And obviously Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, they have that back catalogue of legacy of games, of titles. Like, this is the 6th Halo, not including the spin-offs, if I'm right in thinking that. Halo 5 was the last sequential number. And then even this has been getting a lot of shit this week for not being graphically up there with what people were expecting from the most teraflops that are possibly out there on a console. It's the most powerful console is what they're selling this as. And all week I've just seen it be ripped apart. Now, obviously, a lot of people were watching it on a compressed YouTube video, probably at 1080p, so you can't really give it its due, but
it's the quality of the textures for me on the character models that stood out. The world looks amazingly detailed, but the trailer seemed to have a lot of close-ups on characters that kind of looked okay. Like, they're not horrendously ugly.
Mm-hmm. I think it's worth saying at this point that while we might criticize this, we are looking at it from a very objective point of view. We're not actually doing this as like Xbox haters or anything like that. We're looking at it literally as it is what it is. Like, you look at it and you can see immediately that those brutes that they look like they've come straight out of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Like, it's sort of a little bit of uncanny valley where, like, they've tried to go down so much of a realistic type appearance of them in a next gen game that it sort of crosses that threshold and then suddenly becomes like it looks too much like something else, so I can't unsee what I'm looking at. And then it sort of sticks out like, oh, these are just big monkey men. Like it's a bit awkward to watch then.
The trailer had a lot of focus on the character models, and I think it just made it worse.
Yeah, I think there's a few things when it comes to any games where there's a lot of thought, obviously, that goes into... There's so much that goes into making games now. And like Tom said, the whole point of this isn't to... Like, we'll get to at the end of the conversation, but just to highlight some of the discussion that's been going on and around there. And with this being one of the big flagpole ones, the discussion I wanted to really bring up is... We know Stadia is like a constant platform. There is no second buy-in. There is no 7 years down the line. There's another console you've got to purchase. A lot of the games that we're about to talk about have been optimized for Series X. So that's going to be their focus. That's where you can play the best version of Halo Infinite possible. And then they've been getting a bit of backlash this week because a lot of the games that have been optimized for Series X, a lot of the showcase stuff didn't showcase Xbox One. Even though they've said everything's going to be backwards compatible, and I've seen a lot of people suggesting that because they have to plan for this cross-generational leap almost, it's holding the game back graphically because at the end of the day, technology evolves. You can't design something for the top bracket if you have to have it playable on the lowest common denominator, which is the one.
PC for years.
Okay.
Literally, you have graphical settings, and this is all like the smart performance stuff is like it's the sliders you get in the PC. It's just doing it in the background for you.
But I appreciate where Chris is coming from because we have seen this historically with some games that are released on a platform, and then so the development will have been going on for the current gen. It will have been going on for current gen, and then they've looked forwards to the improvement to the next gen, and they've sort of like tweaked things to move it up. But again, I think the big word to focus on here is that it says optimized for. It doesn't say it's built for. It's optimized for. That means like here is a game that we have, here is a product that we have, and we've tweaked some things to make it look better. That's how I read into the word optimized. Like it's going to work great on the Series X, but it's not designed for the Series X. I don't know. I might be digging a bit too deep here, but
I think you probably are because I think consoles now basically mini PCs, to be honest. So I do think when they say optimize, that's basically them saying this is where we put most of the effort into making play and look the best.
Yeah.
Anything else, your performance, it's not going to be as good. That's all I'd read into the word optimize, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean it's supposed to be to make the most effective use of something, but I'm not feeling that at the moment from what I've seen.
No, I think
that being
as well,
said,
part of it is I think you often find if you look to the start of the generation, I think sometimes you do see a bigger jump in like things like graphical fidelity over the course of a generation rather than between it.
Yeah, because everything's kind of
people
cross.
get better with the tools.
Yeah. I mean, we see that with all the Ubisoft games that are going to be out on both platforms. You are going to see a graphical leap in the next gen one, but you're right, Rich. It tends to take, like the first party studios in particular, it always takes them a few years till you see. I mean, just look at The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima. They run amazing. Well, they don't run amazing. They look beautiful on a console that's been out 7-8 years now, and like it's just crazy thing. Like my phone couldn't cope with. I've got a Galaxy S10 that couldn't cope with something that a Galaxy S3 was running. Could you imagine trying to get that to cope on that old device? Like it just wouldn't happen. So, but in terms of the games, and I think that what I'm trying to push this conversation towards is. They announced a lot more games, so they came up with all that, like that you mentioned, Tom, about acquiring all the many studios. This is what Stadia doesn't have at this moment in time. They're making second-party partnerships, but they don't have that. I mean, they've got the first-party powerhouses, but they haven't got anything sure, and they won't do for some time. And I think a lot of the disappointment from the Kinect was that a lot of people, for some reason, were expecting Stadia to come out with. He's our brand new AAA flagpole title. Yeah. Like we've said, Richie.
He's our hero.
Yeah, it's going to be a good 2 years out minimum is my expectation of that. But obviously, Microsoft can come to the table with that. And they announced later in the show they showed off Forza. You say it Forza, right? Forza. Motorsport. Drop the number again, or whether they're just not ready to announce the number. Which again, a lot of. What's going to lead into this conversation is, are Microsoft prepping themselves to just be a platform, an agnostic platform that branches all devices, all things, similar to a particular platform you may have called Stadia. The biggest thing I'm really trying to drill it down to is every one of these showcased games Microsoft displayed was coming to Game Pass. And last week we discussed on the show, Richie, Game Pass is going to include xCloud.
Yes,
going forward. We spoke about the value. We said it's amazing. I, for one, am a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. I think I pay £3.99 a month. And yeah, it gives me all Microsoft titles day in, date on launch. So that means I could play Halo Infinite, I could play the new Forza game, I could play the new Fable game, Avowed, and all the other ones that they show, the gunk they showcased. Who shows that name? Shocking. That's a terrible name for a game.
Quick shout out to that, actually. The Gunk is actually franchised by the guys who made SteamWorld. So it is a timed exclusive for Series X, Xbox One, and PC.
Interesting.
But is there scope for that to come to Stadia? It's out there.
Yeah.
We have all of the SteamWorld games on Stadia.
And this is what we're trying to drill down to. So now xCloud is included in Game Pass, and they're getting all the games day and date. At what point, like, do we start genuinely starting to compare this with Stadia Pro? And Richie, you said before in the past, you think Stadia Pro is going to be more for the smaller titles, and you still pay for the big AAA games. xCloud and the Game Pass is essentially becoming this now, except for you get the benefit of the Microsoft titles. And then I was thinking over the last couple of days about Stadia Pro. We just got Orcs Must Die for free, which is a Stadia exclusive game, or time exclusive. We got Guild for free. So that's the two exclusive partnership games from the Stadia exclusives we've got for free with our with our Pro Pass. Microsoft are doing the same thing. They just have a bigger library at this moment in time.
One thing I want to say about Microsoft is I get the impression Microsoft think this is going to be the last generation where you'll have a physical box in your living room. And it also explains why they were seeing Google and Amazon as the main threats in next generation, because I think they do see this as probably over the next 5 years. That's probably going to be it for a physical box. So maybe that might be why the transition away from like console generations, the Xbox is going to become more of a platform. They're putting xCloud in Games Pass and making these sort of moves to get ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, they've essentially spent this generation becoming the most consumer-friendly player on the market, in my opinion. Like the groundwork they've done with just Game Pass alone is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Like they're not asking for $60, $70 from you for a game, just like Stadia aren't. They're asking for a subscription. And we've said many times in the show before, every media source has gone to the subscription model, the music industry, the video, the TV
really quite
industry.
ironic, actually. If everyone was thinking Stadia was going to be this Netflix for games, what if that turns out it's Xbox that's going to be that?
But this is the thing. I actually feel like Stadia Pro in particular, is starting to move towards that. And we've talked about this before, because you look at the amount of games we've had since launch that are included in Pro. There are still those titles that we haven't got, but it does start to feel like if this continues, you are paying a fee, and you're going to have all of those games as long as you subscribe. This is starting to feel like having, even though it's called Stadia Pro, we have a library of games that you can play at your disposal wherever. But then there's also like an ultimate version of it where you can buy other games on top of that if you want, like you say, the AAAs and so on there. But xCloud is like Microsoft are coming out swinging at the moment with what they're actually showing there. And you have to say it's a big play. It's a really big play, and it's great for Microsoft.
It's great for consumers, to be honest. I think even Sony experiment with the format, because they are trying out timed PlayStation Now games where here's this game you have on PlayStation Now for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I played Persona 5 on PS Now as a timed thing. I don't think it's on there anymore.
Yeah, and this is the thing. The Microsoft now have basically, like, in all honesty, like I was probably never going to buy an Xbox because I've always been a PlayStation. I've got my Switch, I've got PC, and I've got Stadia. So there's only so many things you can juggle at once, and there's only so many things you can afford. And we always talk about the lowest point of entry. And xCloud, that showcase, didn't sell me on buying the new Xbox, but it did sell me on keeping my Game Pass subscription, which I can access on my PC currently. However, with xCloud now being included in Game Pass, what's to stop me from playing Halo Infinite on my phone through the xCloud app? Just like I would play Stadia on my phone through the Stadia app. And this is where it's rising above a platform. And like you said, Richie, in the next 5 to 6 years, the future's in the cloud, and we've said that from day one with Stadia, because that's the way it's going. It's cheaper, it's more affordable, it's more accessible, and it's future-proofed. There is no new box that's needed every several years.
The thing is, this sort of method, like, I'm the same as you. Like, there's never been enough exclusives on Xbox to make me want to go for Xbox over PlayStation, and it's been usually either or conversation. But now with the going cloud-based and stuff, so I don't have to physically buy the hardware.
Yeah,
I'm more likely to play Microsoft games now. I'm more likely to play Xbox games
because it's accessible.
Yeah, because I don't now need to fork out an extra £400-500 for another box to put in my living room.
100%, exactly.
Yeah, it very much seemed like it was like the whole event really was, as you rightly said, Chris, is this wasn't an event to showcase the Series X. This was an event to showcase the service, like what you get for Game Pass and what you're going to get with xCloud. And literally, like it's sort of like they've left the wording out of it per se, but the implication is there. It's like all of this stuff that you are going to get, and you'll be able to play it. Do you know what? Damn well near anywhere, as long as you've got Game Pass. You just get it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But the key difference,
sort of like putting the box in Xbox. They're sort of like putting that to one side now, really, and they're just sort of saying, do you know what? You can have that if you want.
Microsoft X.
We are really like we are in it for the games, not the console.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to this business model. We know that they don't make money on consoles, so why pursue that? Why pursue that if you're not making money on it, right?
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, if it's more affordable to just do everything in the cloud, then yeah. And again, the key thing we're really getting at here is that the platforms you can, like we've said it from day one, you don't need to be a fanboy of either of them. You can be, and you can love one more than the other. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to play games, Richie, you said that lovely quote last week. I forgot what it was already, but it was...
Oh, it was something to do with the best place to play games is where you're having the most fun.
There it is. Whoever is, and you're totally right. And if you want to play Halo Infinite, go play it. If you want to play Orcs Must Die 3, go play it. If you want to go play Ghost of Tsushima, Pokemon, Paper Mario, whatever it may be, you're free to do that. Nothing can stop you. And if anything, the only thing that would stop you would be finances. And this gets rid of all that. But one of the things that did come off the back of this is I've seen some popular names in the industry come out almost in defense of what Xbox are going for, and also on the flip side of that, in defense of Stadia as well. And the big one, someone I've followed for a while on YouTube, was Alanah Pearce, who was previously of IGN. She's now kind of funny. She does a couple of other shows as well. I know she's started just an Xbox show, ironically enough, this past week with a bunch of other people. But she made a video where someone interviewed her regarding Stadia, and it was really, really great to see just some genuine honesty coming out of someone who's trialed it. And throughout the entire video, she caveats it with, I'm not a big fan of her. She's like agnostic to all of them. She plays on all platforms. She loves this, she loves that, she loves the games. That's what we're all here for, the games. And all the questions she was hit with, she just caveated them all with, Stadia works for me. I have really good internet, which is what you need for an online service. Like fundamentally, that's what you need. And she said it plays fine, it streams fine, and she's enjoyed every experience she's had with it so far. And it was just great to see that it wasn't straight into the negative. And don't get me wrong, she had her criticisms, right, which we do, rightly so. Yeah. That it's not a complete service. It should still be in beta. The library is it's not comparable with the rest of them in the market. We said that from day one. We know that it's only 6, 7, 8 months old. That
was inevitable, and I've said pretty much since the early days of this podcast that I think you're going to see the indies quicker than the AAAs because it just takes longer to port.
Yeah, and I was speaking to my other half actually regarding that video. I think just after I watched it, and one of the criticisms, as always, will be the library isn't big enough, and then they joke about bringing older games over. But the reality is we need them older games for the library too. If you were to open up a little independent bookshop in your local town right now, and you didn't bring any of the legacy books that existed before today, you're going to have a very small library for a very long time. You need the Charles Dickens books. You need to get J.R. Tolkien books. You need them because guess what? That's the legacy of the industry you're in. So Stadia needs old games.
I think we're going to need to remember as well that with regards to the older games, it's not like, say, a PlayStation 4 when once you've got your PlayStation 5 in your living room, chances are that's going in the box in the shelf somewhere to collect dust.
Yep.
May never be touched again.
Yeah.
It's going to be a continuing thing. So having older games there is probably a good thing, to be honest.
I actually really like that analogy of the bookshop. I think that resonates, or it should resonate with a lot of people, because you just look at any industry really and sort of look at what we're going through at the moment in just the scope of the world and so on, with businesses and different sort of the leisure industry and so on, so just like now starting to pick up again. They are looking to try to get people back, and the way we try to get people back into things or to get people interested in the first place is play the nostalgia factor. And really try to go for things that people can reminisce about and can remember, like take them back to their childhood. And I think as you say, you need those old things there, because that's where gaming has come from. It's the history of the gaming, and people have developed a love for that. That's why we are gamers. That's why we enjoy what we do. Like if you've got a child who's grown up and you want them to be a gamer, chances are you're not going to wait for a new game to come out and give them that, and they go, "There's your first game, Timmy. Right, have a blast with it." You're going to give them something that you have enjoyed.
Absolutely, you shouldn't start off any kids. You shouldn't start kids off with something like the Halo Infinite. Give them Pokemon, give them Mario first, give them the proper stuff.
Yeah, something entry level. But no, I think
when I was your age, I used to play this.
But I think it really rings true, because again, you mentioned other industries there, Tom, and now you've kind of opened my eyes up to, yes, the bookshop analogy works fantastic. But we look at all the other platforms we said have went digital and went to streaming and subscription models. Imagine if Spotify had started off with no back catalogue of the Beatles, no back catalogue of Michael Jackson, and it was like, oh no, you only get the new music going forward. You don't get any of the old stuff. No one would go to it.
Yeah,
so, but with games we fit. Yeah, but in games we fit in. And actually, now I'm saying that I don't think the Beatles was on Spotify because it's got to deal with Apple Music. But that aside, you understand what I'm getting at, though. Like, yeah, if like again, gaming for some reason has a thing like, oh, all games are old. I recently went back this year and played through the entirety of Pokemon Yellow again. It was amazing. We don't need to restrict ourselves to a platform. An age of a game, because if Stadia's taught me anything, there's plenty of games that I missed over the last 4, 5, 6 years, and I've had an absolute blast playing them recently on Stadia. And we need that library, we need that back catalogue of games just to flesh it out, but to more importantly, just give us variety. Variety is the spice of life, right?
To caveat all that, we do need the new stuff as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think the reason I think people are complaining about the old stuff coming is because they're not seeing enough of the new stuff. But then again, this has been a pretty shallow year in terms of new games.
I mean, yeah.
Apart from exclusives.
Yeah, COVID aside.
The only two new games I've bought this year, I think, are Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima. And they're both within a month.
Yeah. But actually, that opens it up to the wider gaming industry. I've listened to a few of my regular podcasts this week. Nintendo have got fuck all on the slate this year, as of now. Like we
Paper Mario.
That's out, but. What for the going into Christmas? There's nothing. Whereas Stadia's got all them Ubisoft games and Cyberpunk that we spoke about. So where's Microsoft? They've got Halo Infinite, which is coming with the launch of the Series X. All them other games, they're not coming until 2021. But what will be there is all the third-party games that are coming to Stadia as well. PlayStation, now you said there, Richie, Ghost of Tsushima, amazing. Probably one of my Game of the Year contenders. Last of Us 2, also one of my Game of the Year contenders. Amazing. What have they got for the rest of the year? Probably something that's going to launch with PS5, but not so. Brianson, 2020 has been quite a barren year so far, and I'm sure people who are listening along will be thinking, well, actually, Chris, this game came out in March, and I'm sure they did, but in terms of take a step back, look at the wider scope as we head into the second part of this shit show that is 2020, compared is actually, there's not much difference other than come Christmas, you're going to have to drop 400, 500 quid for a new box.
I think it's going to be interesting when we get all the sports games from EA over. That's probably going to change the landscape quite a bit.
Yeah,
I reckon.
And don't get us wrong, we need them.
Yeah,
we do. But I think, again, we could sort of have to speculate about that and so on. We haven't actually got dates for when those games are going to arrive on Stadia, and I think that's something we do need to bear in mind. But I don't want to keep making excuses for the platform, because we do know it is younger and we do know it has time to grow. But I think 2021 is going to be the real sort of
make or break.
Yeah, it's going to be the make or break. So you have to sort of still give it time to see what's going to happen at the moment. But you're absolutely right. We do need the old games, and we definitely need new games as well, because people are critical of that. But the reality of the situation is we are getting games where the platform is building bit by bit. Yeah. It's just, you look at the contenders now, particularly Microsoft at the moment, and they're coming out swinging. They're coming out with all of these things because they have those deals in place. They have those studios available already. Google is working on that. And we just hope that we see more of it.
People's patience is wearing thin, I think, a bit at the moment. I think they need to at least very soon be hitting for the major third-party titles day and date.
Yeah, which we always thought there was going to be a teething issue with getting them on board because you need the publishers to see the value in getting it over to Stadia.
It's going to be expensive. Sometimes Google, you're just going to have to throw money at it.
Yeah, they really are.
Make it worth the while rather than treating you like a second tier of platform.
Mm-hmm. But certainly...
Unfortunately,
they have the legacy behind them. You're just going to have to use money.
Yeah,
they're going to create their legacy. They have to create their legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's what we're waiting for.
They all did, right?
Yeah.
Like Microsoft had to, and they started with Halo, and then look at it now. They're pumping out their 6th, 7th, 8th game.
I've said before, I think Microsoft is a bit of a red herring in comparing it to Stadia because Microsoft were making PC games for decades before this went into the console market. They had established studios, they had IP already.
True. But then this harks back then to the wider unsuspecting gamer. We say all this stuff week in, week out about the community. We've got hundreds of people who listen to this show every week. And that's fantastic, but we're the tuned-in audience. I listen to gaming podcasts. I read gaming articles. I follow a lot of gaming pages on social media. The millions upon millions of people out there who will be playing an assortment of games.
Billions, Chris.
Billions of people out there. As Stadia does start to genuinely, you'd hope, ramp up its marketing, as will xCloud and as will whatever PlayStation have to offer. It's going to come down to price. That at the end of the day, that is the price and where you in the accessibility. Yeah. And like we've all said before, Stadia has a really good foot in the door with that. They just need to implement it correctly, just like xCloud is going to, and just like Microsoft and PlayStation are going to.
The right marketing, things like a FIFA or Call of Duty, these games that people just play, that's all they play. They buy a console for that game. The right marketing, Stadia can hoover up all of them.
Yeah,
especially if it's cross-platform play.
Yeah, and all this.
There's no worrying about my friend's playing it on PlayStation, but it's like, well, I don't want to spend £450-500 on a console. I can just play on Stadia and play with them.
Yeah, and play it on my phone because that's a big thing. Yeah. I think like I've always played FIFA casually, or sports games casually, I should say. The fact that I can now play it on the move with your phone. It just adds another dynamic. If I'm commuting to work on an hour-long journey train, and we'll get into it about being able to, sort your transfers, do your team management, it's all that kind of stuff that you maybe just don't want to do sat on your couch necessarily because you're not getting the full effect, but you can do on the move. And it's that, again, getting gaming anywhere and everywhere into people's lives, just like mobile gaming took off. Like, mobile gaming didn't exist 10 plus years ago, and it's so accessible. Everybody's got a mobile, and everybody plays. It's one of the biggest divisions. It makes millions and millions.
I think statistically it actually accounts for 59% of the entire gaming industry at the moment. So more than half, vastly more than half.
And guess what? Half of them are Android-ran phones, which are powered by Google.
I've said before, if I was Google, I'd almost get rid of the gaming side of Google Play and integrate it directly into Stadia. And then have Stadia on everyone's phone out of the box.
I'm sure they've had that discussion, Richie. I'm sure they've had that discussion. Yeah. But maybe they want Stadia to stand alone for now, and then we'll see where it goes. But
they probably do, because if you do that, then everyone looks and goes, it's just a mobile gaming platform.
Yeah, you want to distinguish.
People are snobby about it.
But then saying that, look how many people play Call of Duty mobile and Fortnite mobile now.
I'd still have Stadia on everyone's phone out the box, to be honest. I mean, just have it as a default installed app.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they do with lots. That's what Apple do with all their built-in things.
Yeah,
so
you can install it if you don't want it, but if you get a handful of if you get 1 in 10 people clicking on that app, even if 1 in 10 of them,
I mean, Tom
says, this is cool.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, you're a big iPhone user. Did you remember the day you got that U2 album for free from Apple Music? Or Apple iTunes was just like, here's the album for free, and everyone was like, we don't like you two. I don't want them on my phone. It was like, here's a free album, but so you can also be too invasive with that kind of thing.
Yeah, you say that, but I mean, Windows PCs have been coming with Internet Explorer installed on them for a very long time now, and it is not a good internet browser.
But it's Microsoft Edge now. It's Microsoft Edge. And the deleted
Internet Explorer still exists. It is a separate browser. It exists for the older generation.
Yeah, I literally had a Microsoft Edge update, mandatory from Windows update, that deleted my wireless card. Well done, Microsoft. Well done.
Well, speaking of deleting things, let's talk about some actual new games we got announced this week coming to Stadia. Perfect segue, thank you, Richie, into the newly announced for Stadia, super hot Mind Control, delete Richie's wireless card, coming the end of, coming soon. They need to get rid of this coming soon thing, right? This is one of the bugbears that we've all got about Stadia. Stop giving us hashtag coming soon. Give us a freaking date for the games, like every other platform. Even if you're going to delay it, that's fine. Just give me some, like Cyberpunk. We've had about 50 dates for that at this point, but at least we've got a date.
Just don't say coming soon.
Well, I don't know. I don't like the thought of not. It's just
if you don't have a date on it, don't pretend you do.
Yeah, coming soon. But either way, Tom, would you like to run us through Super Hot Mind Control Delete if you've got it open in the dock there?
Yeah, absolutely. So Super Hot Mind Control Delete. Actually, I was quite surprised that I say surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised that it's now been announced for Stadia, because the release trailer for Mind Control Delete actually came out a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of the Stadia community, obviously, we very much keep our eyes on the Stadia community and seeing what people say. A lot of questions were going out about saying, oh, okay, well, we've had Super Hot, so are we getting this? Because it is a new Super Hot title with loads of new mechanics, loads of new levels. It's essentially, a new Super Hot game, a sequel, per se.
Mm-hmm.
But the Stadia community were never really told that it was coming to Stadia. It was announced for a lot of other platforms, but not Stadia. So what I sort of didn't understand at first is a lot of people were saying, well, okay, we're clearly not getting it because we're not announced to Stadia. Why is there this discrepancy between us finding out to other platforms finding out? That's one thing that I sort of want to address while we're on this point here.
Yeah.
Actually.
I mean, when are we getting SpongeBob? That was the thing that it was announced. It was all over the marketing. No, that's the thing. It's now out. It's getting terrible average ratings, but it's out and it was coming to Stadia and coming soon. And the date for release on other platforms has came and gone, and we don't have a release date for Stadia. But I guarantee you, a lot of people out there thought it was coming with the other ones. What did we see? Oh, was Ghost Recon Breakpoint this week? I think got an update or announcement, and Ubisoft failed to add the Stadia title at the end of the video, even though it's coming.
I made a bit of a joke on Twitter, which is it's essentially, when even the games on Stadia don't know that they're on Stadia. And I know a number of content creators in the community as well also caught onto that. I believe Bill and Lloyd from Stadia Cast as well also clocked onto that fact as well.
Oh, you mean the Xbox sleeper agents?
Yeah,
I saw people giving them shit, saying they're trying to gather up all the Stadia fans and convert them over to Microsoft after their podcasts.
Because you can only have one console. Yeah. You have to pick your tribe. We could practically be the same this week. We've spent half an hour at least talking about Xbox and how they compare with Stadia. So if you're listening to this and you're a Stadia fan, cancel your Stadia Pro subscription and get yourself over to Ultimate Game Pass. Well, in reality, right now, taking fire from all sides.
In reality, you have to look at the competition to be able to make an informed opinion of the platform that you support. You have to.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have an unbiased look at... You can't have a well-rounded argument, I should say, not unbiased. You can't have a well-rounded argument without considering all angles. Because if you don't, you're just blindsiding, half of the discussion and just going... You become part of the problem.
Very
in that
true.
case. There.
In your little silo.
Yeah, but getting back to these games. So one thing I'm just a little bit not 100% on is fantastic. We're getting the new Super Hot game. But why are we saving these announcements for the weekly blog? Why not? When we know that it's happening, why not just announce it with everyone else?
It's a terrible place to announce things because most people don't care about Reddit.
Well, I just sort of feel like, are we in this sort of situation where if they save these games for the weekly blog, that's like the big capture point, isn't it? So we see these weekly blog posts where it's like, oh, Stadia update, we're getting 3 new games.
Yeah.
If they just drop them throughout the week, like as and when we find out that they're coming to the platform, does that mean that then when the blog comes out, it's just like, oh, hi, yeah, it's the Stadia weekly blog here. We've had an update to the game, and these are some games that are coming soon, but not the 3 that we've previously announced during the week. Well, I don't know.
I don't think it would hurt Stadia at all to have the information come out in multiple places. So what if people read the blog and go, I've already know that information? I don't think that's a problem, to be honest.
No, I don't either. I don't. Yeah. It still sits quite bizarre with me that like a game like Super Hot Mind Control Delete has already been announced for other platforms, but didn't include Stadia. And whether there's something behind the scenes, like the deal wasn't quite fleshed out, or it wasn't quite sorted, I don't know. But
that's the marketing team to deal with that stuff. Like,
it is. But other than that, as well as Super Hot Mind Control Delete, Chris, we also got Sniper Elite 4.
We did coming. Indeed. From Rebellion, the makers of Zombie Army 4, which it looks like they've partnered with Stadia now. It looks like they're all in because there's more than just this game as well coming.
Yeah, I think the one that we're actually quite looking forward to is a little title that's come out a while ago now, but a little title called Strange Brigade. You heard of this one, gents?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
have not.
I do remember when it came out on PlayStation and Xbox as well. It's essentially, it's almost like a 4-player action co-op romp through ancient Egypt, where you just you're just some kind of like adventurer squad, and you shoot zombies and mummies and I don't know, Anubis warriors and all the other stuff that comes from ancient Egypt. In some kind of like fun. Actually, it actually reminds me. I was saying to you guys before the show. It reminds me of Orcs Must Die a little bit, where there's just kind of waves and waves of enemies coming at you, and as a collective team, you upgrade your weapons, you upgrade your tactics, your defense mechanisms, and fight them through like what is essentially just a fun third-person kind of shooty puzzle game together as a team. More importantly,
absolutely. I think it'll be another game that I think we're going to jump into together, and we're going to have a bit of fun with it. Albeit an older title once again, but it's a title that a lot of people actually love.
It looks a bit like Temple Run.
Yeah, it's not a massively well-known title, to be honest, as well. I don't think critically that it's very well-known across the board.
I hadn't heard of it, I'll be honest.
I think it got washed, unfortunately, with that Fortnite brush of the aesthetics do look very Fortnite-esque, and it's not Fortnite,
I don't think it looks that close to Fortnite, to be honest, in terms of the aesthetics. It doesn't have that overly cartoony, stylized look to it. It is stylized, but not to the same degree that Fortnite is.
You did just compare it to Temple Run, though, Richie.
Yeah, no, that's true. I was watching the trailer and I just saw some like guy running through, looked like a temple.
So that's just your immediate go-to thing. Temple, and he's running. Temple Run.
Hey.
I do have a little issue with the trailer. I don't like CGI trailers. Give me I want to see gameplay. I want to see what the game is.
Yeah, it doesn't do a great job at showcasing what's actually going on within the game.
Watching that trailer alone, I don't know what the game is, or how it plays, or anything about it, apart from the setting. So
good thing we're here to tell you about then, Richie. Yeah. Good thing we're here to tell you about it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it looks quite... Again, for the three of us, I wouldn't play it on my own. But after the fun I did have with Zombie Army 4, surprising amount of fun I actually had with it, I'm really excited to jump in to Strange Brigade and also Sniper Elite 4. Rebellion, obviously, I would class them as a AA studio, and it's nice to see these level of quality games coming to them. They're never going to be the most graphically intense. They're never going to be probably the best gameplay, but they are all fun in their own way. Sniper Elite 4 as well in particular. Shout out to Tom Clark Hill, by the way, who does the voice for all of these games, it would seem. I'm sure he's in Strange Brigade. But he does the voice for the guy in Sniper Elite 4. He does the one in Zombie Army. And for me, he really has a place in my heart from the Time Splitters games back in the day. He is Cortex himself. Time to split. He's just got that super cool, deep baritone voice. And every time I hear him, I'm just like, I just get like washover vibes of playing Time Splitters as a kid. Bring Time Splitters to Stadia, man. Get on it.
Mind if that happened.
Oh yeah, get on it, THQ Nordic. I know you've got that IP and you're working on something, but just reveal it already. But more importantly, three games come to Stadia, all from a decent sized studio, and it definitely looks like that relationship with Rebellion is pretty much up and running right now. It's firing on all cylinders, which it's good going forward for, I think, whatever game they've got in development now. I don't think they've announced whatever their next project is. I think Strange Brigade was their last one. So whatever they've got in the pipeline, you would like to think this working relationship now means we'll be getting their new game day and date with everybody else.
It's possible as a studio, this is a potential for as an exclusive, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one of those second party deals where if they got it for a limited amount, good shout.
Or again, it could be some developers and publishers actually recognizing the potential of getting big sales on a platform with limited games. There's also that scope of looking at things too.
Yeah, less likely to be drowned out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very true. Same with the Switch when that launched and all the indies were saying like, oh, we're actually seeing 300% increase in sales comparable to PlayStation 4 and Xbox on the Switch, and that's because, well, actually, there was such a small pool of games, theirs stood out as the better quality of the pool. So yeah, I can see it from that angle as well. Speaking of other games that are coming, we got some Ubisoft leaks that came out this week. Everyone's favourite AAA title from Ubisoft, Uno. The card game gone digital. I've had Uno, I think, at my family home for many, many years. Never played it once.
Your family home as opposed to your home where your family don't live.
Yeah, our second home, Richie, in the Everglades. You know what I mean. My old home, my parents' house. But yeah, I feel like we owned Uno in several different variations, whether it's the mini game that goes in the car, the game that sits in the house, but I've never played it. I remember seeing the coloured cards, and I've just we never played it.
Interestingly, I feel like, similar to you, Chris, I have Uno, but I also have played Uno. But I also feel like I have Uno on every single console that I've ever owned.
Like, so it just feels like this game. Number one Uno fan.
Is it Uno fan?
I'm not because I feel like I remember having it on the Xbox 360 through arcade. I think I had it on PS3, PS4. Like, it
just keep giving it to you.
It just feels like it's Ubisoft. It's one of these games that, like Monopoly, it
exists everywhere.
Uno is like a bad rash. It just gets everywhere. It gets under your skin, and it's just Uno. It's just there. It's like, I don't know.
If we're going to give everyone a breakdown of like Strange Brigade and Sniper 84, what's the breakdown for Uno, Tom? In a quick snippet. What the hell do you do with it?
As a pro Uno player,
you want me to explain the rules of Uno?
Not all of them. Just in it's something to do with numbers, obviously. Do you shout Uno out when you win?
You can only play cards that match either the color of the card that's already down or the number of the card that's already down. Certain cards will actually change things. Change things on the fly. Like a 2 might mean that somebody next to you has to pick up 2. Or you've got like a color changer where you can play and it changes to any color of your calling and so on. But the aim of the game is to get rid of your cards as soon as you can. However, if you get down to 1 card, you have to declare Uno at that point. If you do not declare Uno and somebody else plays...
That rule always causes arguments in any sort of game. Oh, you didn't declare, you only have 1 card left.
Yeah.
It does under my breath, Uno.
It sounds like a drinking game.
I mean, it can be.
It sounds like a scream.
My only... concern with this, in line with Monopoly as well, is this going to come out at a stupidly high price point at like £50, and then there's going to be a pro deal that's going to bring it down to about £12, which is where most people will get it, but then it just sits at that stupidly high price point for what I wouldn't. Yeah.
When it comes to Uno, I do not think it is worth more than perhaps $3.99. I really, really don't. Like, it's a game you can play, but it is a game that, in my opinion, it's been on console after console after console. I don't know. I feel quite critical about the fact that Ubisoft want to bring Uno to Stadia. I'm grateful for the fact that they want to bring more games to Stadia.
It's the same reason, like, probably to bring a Monopoly, where you can spend like your Uplay points and stuff, so it encourages people to buy more Uplay points, and it's probably an easy get port over.
This is just probably back to Uplay inevitably being a thing, right? We had our Ubisoft Forward. We had jack shit from them about that. We had our Connect event where we thought, it's right off the back of the Ubisoft event. We might hear something there. Nope. Yeah. But evidently there is more trickling games coming to Stadia from Ubisoft. And again, we've praised them before for their partnership and their work. They're bringing games over to Stadia. And this is just another string to their bow as such. And actually off the back of that, we did also find out that there is another Ubisoft Forward, which they did mention later this year. It's scheduled in for September. So we'll no doubt have more predictions, which we might be might be a little bit more wary of this time round. We know
let's just go for it, gung ho again.
We'll mess with our audio again, and we'll give shockingly elaborate predictions, because that's what this is all about, having fun.
Yeah. I do sometimes wonder whether these new announcements of future forwards and future connects and things like that are a little bit of like a reactionary response to the fact that people look at the prior event and then go, well, that was shit. They didn't really show us anything.
But don't worry, there's another one coming.
I think what they're doing is, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of developers are taking this year, publishers as well, thinking, well, there's no E3, so there isn't this big tentpole event when all eyes are on gaming, full stop. Mm-hmm. So if we just do smaller things, but if we just keep telling people the next one's coming soon, then it almost gives them a free pass when it's just a smaller. It's almost like the Nintendo Directs with them being quite regular. You don't have to go all guns blazers every single time.
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of an event that they can really, perhaps at the first event they can sort of gauge the response really, and then moving on to a future event they could be like, well, it's clear that the audience weren't quite keen on getting all of this information. They want to see new stuff, so let's actually give them a taste of what's in the oven.
A quarterly mini showcase from most publishers would be quite cool to just here's what's coming up in the next quarter.
It's like, guess what? We are your stakeholders. Show us what you got. Like we're the people who are investing and putting the money into keeping the business afloat because we're buying the product. The customer is a stakeholder. So, show us what's coming. Show us what we can be excited for.
Yeah. More games coming. And again, more the better. That's the thing. We need this library. So Uno, again, is one of those things that it exists. It's a thing everywhere else. We need these games to flesh out the library. It's not one for my particular taste. I've never played it before. However, it may be a pro game, maybe really cheap. We may go. I'm not sure Tom's going to buy it just for the sake of having it in his collection once again. Shaking his head, but I don't know.
Yeah, you can guarantee now you're going to get that on Pro. It's going to come on Pro.
It's going to come on Pro and he's going to get it.
It's going to find its way into my library somehow.
Yeah. Or it's going to have like a pricing issue where it goes on the store for like 12 pence. Then you go, why not?
$1. Uno dollar.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of games, we also got Cake Bash announced. Or not announced, it was rated. We should say, and that comes off the back. Who was Cake Bash? Was the guys who made
Cake Bash is by the publisher by CodeSync, the publishers of
Get Packed. Sorry, Get Packed.
Get Packed. Yes, Get Packed.
And
so, yeah.
We thought this was coming anyway, didn't we? But then they came out and explicitly said, no, it's not coming to Stadia. But it got, obviously, it was the relationship because of Get Packed was there. And evidently now it's bear in mind the rating was on the German ratings board. But that's the great thing with ratings boards is all other countries do them at different rates and different paces. And evidently, the Germans just have it done. Cake Bash
ratings
for Stadia.
It seemed to be the biggest spoilers of announcements at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I get the reason for things like NDAs and so on, but it's so infuriating from a point of view where we report on news and so on. When you find a bit of information, you go, is it coming to Stadia? And then they go, no. And then a month later, it's like, yeah, it is. Like, we couldn't say anything before. We've got legal deals behind the scenes. It's sort of like, it can be a bit infuriating.
Yeah, and it's a pro game, probably. One of those things. Speaking of pro things as well, off the back of Cake Bash, we'll talk about that more when it's actually officially announced to be #coming soon to Stadia. We got some more pro deals dropped this week, which again we get them every month. There's some games. Any of them particular tickle your fancy, guys? So we've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This is back to your loving argument, Tom, that all the games are just cycling through discounts now. I feel like Assassin's Creed Odyssey is on about a 20th discount, along with Mortal Kombat down to £20.
I am still seeing people buying it, so it is working.
Yeah,
there is that caveat there.
NBA 2K down to £13. Obviously, we picked it up, Richie, when it was £2.50. So if you missed out on that pro deal, here's another one that's 4 times more expensive.
It wasn't a pro deal, wasn't it? It was just didn't soon just mess up the pricing on this.
No, it was. I think it was a pro deal
it was an intended deal.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2. Down to $43.99. Again, in my opinion, still way too expensive for a game of its age. But Rockstar, 2K, just keeping that quality.
What they seem to do with Red Dead as well, the special edition is $46.89. So you get a bigger saving on the special editions.
100%. But it's still, for a game of its age, it should be significantly less, in my opinion, right now. The Crew 2 and Trials, and once again, Shadow of the Tomb Raider teasing me there. It's the only one of the 3 I don't have on Stadia, and there's a few times I've looked at it in the store and thought, I still have my £10 off that I've not used yet. Get it for $6.50 just to have the collection. And it's like, no, Chris, you already own the games. You're not going to play it anytime soon.
I'm going to take that opportunity to actually confess something here, guys. I burnt my £10 discount. I burnt it in a really bad fashion.
Oh, was it cosmetics or something?
No, I burnt it. It doesn't actually apply on cosmetics, but it does, however, apply to early access games, such as One Hand Clapping, which was £2.49.
Oh no, Tom!
God.
I got it for free, but there's nothing left over.
Oh,
So
did you forget about it, or did it prompt you?
I didn't even consider it for a moment. I didn't even think about it being applied. I just thought, oh, £2.49, I can afford that. I might as well just jump and buy it.
Did you have a choice in the matter?
No, it's automatically applied.
That's pretty shocking.
It's on the next game you purchase. So take a tip from me, anyone who's listening to the podcast. If you have your £10 still, really think about what you purchase next, because you don't get the choice. You do not
purchase something for at least £10.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, I can 100% confirm that once you've used it, it's gone. If you buy something that is less than the value of it, you still lose the remainder. It's just gone.
But there was no pop-up box that said, just to make sure you're going to use the whole £10 promotion.
Nope, it just literally obviously just discounts it at the purchase screen.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah.
You should probably just use it on Octopath.
Okay, so of these deals right here, I mean, Chris, there's still some more to go through. I'll just run through them quickly if that's all right.
Yeah.
Darksiders Genesis is on sale as Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, back down to £8 again. Farming Simulator 19 at $23.99. Monopoly $13.50. Octopath Traveler $39.99. I am going to pick up Octopath Traveler at that price now, but it would have been nicer to have it at $29.99.
Yeah, it certainly would have been. This is kind of something Stadia need to address then and look at, because obviously that's £10 of giveaways a promotion, but if there's at no point as I say, would you like to leave your promotion for maybe a more expensive item? That would be great. The other caveat, I've seen a few people in the community talk on Facebook and Twitter, still not being able to use their Google Play credit when it's less than the total value. So again, Tommy's still that.
I still have £35 sitting in my Google Play account that I cannot use
because it's
because
not.
it's
So yeah,
an iPhone and a PC.
So you couldn't buy Octopath Traveler because you're £5 short of the total, right? It still needs to be the total cost.
Yeah. But I still also have £35 credit that I cannot use regardless. Still, to this day, I still have £35 in my account that was gifted to me as a Christmas gift that I still cannot use on games because I don't have an Android phone.
Right. Oh, of course, yeah, because it links in with...
It's only on Android that you can use it so far.
So there's features that need... Yeah, they need to look at...
They need to integrate it into Stadia rather than into the Android system.
Interesting. But speaking of updates and features, just to wrap up this week's news, we've got some updates for Orcs Must Die. Had a patch, quite a large patch this week actually, as did Wavebreak. So we had our not issues I want to say, but we had our bugbears with Wavebreak when we did our live stream about like there not being a tutorial and some things that they implement.
Under the map.
Yeah, lots of things with like glitches and stuff. So they've came out with an update. They've pretty much did a massive overhaul of a lot of the little tweaks and frame rate, camera issues and stuff. They've gone in and done that. There's a big long list of patch notes. If you want to read through them, head over to our friends Dan and the team over at Stadia Source. They've given a full bullet point breakdown of everything over there. And then on the back of that, we also got an Orcs Must Die patch, which for anyone, Richie, you were on the leaderboards as Tom was saying. They were having an issue where the multiplayer leaderboards were actually superseding the single player leaderboards. So the games being played with two people had an unfair playing as an individual. Part of the patch, unfortunately, has wiped those leaderboards. So if you were up there at the top, you might want to jump back in and reaffirm your status as numero uno because you're not there anymore.
The leaderboards are just between your friends, not. I don't think they're global, are they?
There are global leaderboards you can check out. Yes. Yeah.
So Richie's like, I'm number one, and actually he's 4,600 and something.
I might have been number one in the world at one of the levels.
I was shocked that. I think I checked out the first level on Orcs Must Die 3 globally, and I think somebody had a score of like 2.8 million. And I just couldn't fathom how they did that.
And then this mod on level 2, I have like 1.4 million.
Oh well, there you go. Pro tip from the Orc Slayer himself.
It just get insane when you get into like wave 25.
I can imagine. But again, great updates. It's a bit unfortunate with the leaderboard thing, but at least they caught it early, and this wasn't several weeks, months down the line when there's been a lot of hours plugged into it. Again, they addressed it. They said apologies, but for one who's never that bothered about leaderboards online, It doesn't really matter. If it was between you two, obviously I'm better than you at it. I've got more points, but I'm not at that age where I really give a shit about online leaderboards anymore.
I do now. If I'm top in the world.
Oh, is that a challenge, Richie? Is that a challenge? Are you going to join us on Thursday again? Aside from that, I think the only final news topic we want to touch on this week is the APK breakdown file. We won't go too much into detail because it is just a breakdown of techie specs in and amongst. Essentially, it looks like we're on the imminent cusp of getting mobile data being allowed to play on Stadia, which is again is in tandem with the xCloud news that you can play on mobile. Great news for myself and everyone in the UK who is accessible to a unlimited internet plan and no data caps. I think a big thing, actually, to hark back to the Xbox story we're talking about and the Alanah Pearce video, one of the biggest problems with data usage, and everyone on this side of the pond in Europe, we've had unlimited data on our home Wi-Fi for feels like my entire lifetime. My adult lifetime.
I can't remember there ever being a data cap on a home internet.
No, it's not a problem we have. So massive patience to you guys over the other side of the pond and in the States.
If you're having, for sure.
Yeah, if you're having to deal with like 50, 100 gig caps, Stadia obviously isn't going to be ideal for you whatsoever. Tom, you were saying the APK update comes with a low resolution for mobile devices.
It does, yeah.
What was it per hour?
So, what it looks like within the APK is when we actually get mobile data usage, it looks like Google are actually implementing a 480p resolution as well. So we're obviously looking at dropping down lower than the 720p resolution, which 720p uses about 4.5 gigs of data per hour. So obviously, if you're on a 50 data limit, you've got 10 hours worth of gameplay there pretty much. 480p uses 2.7. It's still a big chunk of data, that is. Still a big chunk of data right there. And with mobile plans in the UK, we do have a lot of people who are on unlimited now, but a lot of people within the UK on mobile data plans they still have a cap in terms of the amount of data they can use. So having that 480p option is quite nice, but again, home internet, there is no need for that because it does not exist in the UK. It doesn't exist in the UK and most of Europe. It's just a strange thing across the pond in the US.
Yeah, and massive shout out for the patience you've got with that. I know we've talked about, Richie, I think, pre-show about it being regulated over here, and Ofcom don't allow companies to cap stuff unfairly, and they have to be consumer friendly.
It's the cap for a home Wi-Fi is literally an arbitrary cap. It cost your internet provider nothing to remove that cap, apart from they'd lose out sales and higher data packages.
It's all virtual currency. It's the same with texts and minutes. It doesn't cost them anymore to give you unlimited minutes as opposed to 100 minutes. It's just all virtual currency. But they do that for marketing reasons. But it's good news. Personally, I have unlimited 5G data in the UK on my mobile device, and then, like you said, Richie, I've had unlimited my entire adult life at home. So this is great news to me. It means I can play on the go, and with the rollout of 5G, for better or for worse, all of you tinfoil hat conspiracy people out there listening, it's non-ionized, don't worry, it can't hurt you. But with the rollout, the connectivity and stuff going forward, Stadia is only going to get better on the move over time. Like, if we look back in 10 years when everywhere's 5G, we're going to be able to game on the go on our phones, no problem whatsoever, and it's going to be an amazing world to live in.
The one thing to remember as well is when we're talking about 480p, it seems terrible when everyone says, like, it's all about 4K now. The smaller your screen, the less that matters.
Yes.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Some of the other points they brought out was there's an update to family sharing that's in there, which we must be on the cusp of family sharing now. I think there was a few leaks within the Stadia app where a few people were actually able to capture the family sharing icon starting to show up. Hopefully we get a really good price for Stadia Pro, where essentially you're probably going to be able to, just like Netflix and stuff, be able to play it on so many shared devices. Like, you register the devices of the Stadia app, and you'd imagine you can share it with however many at the same time. So someone can play Orcs Must Die 3, someone can play, I don't know, Hitman in the future, and at the same time, if they're on the family sharing plan. Hey guys, we should all go in on a family sharing plan. All three of us, we'll all chip in and save even more money.
We'll convert the Sounds of Stadia account to the family sharing one.
Stadia family!
Why not?
You've got a pocket on that one because you bought all the games on the Sounds of Stadia account.
Well, again, if we're going to this pro model where everything's going to be free anyway...
Yeah.
Fantastic. The only problem would be save files. Like, I could just picture me erasing Richie's save file. He's got like 100 hours in whatever, and I just go, oh shit, I think I oversaved Richie's.
I'd imagine you need to have
an account
as well. Accounts to play together as well.
Potentially.
Apart from local multiplayer of it. versions.
True. But all in all, good to see that these features are, by the looks of it, they're on the horizon for a reveal. Maybe at another Connect we may get. But that brings us to a wrap in news for this week. It's been a busy one. We spoke about, like I said, a lot of Xbox coverage. But more importantly, I think a lot of positive Stadia things. We need to remember as a community and as an upcoming platform that in relation to the masses of the public, they don't know we exist yet. I don't know how we're at episode number 44, but the time has flew by since Stadia launched way back in November. We're on the verge of their birthday in the coming months. Like, it will be 1 year of Stadia before we know it. And we said last week, Richie, episode 52 will be on us before we even realise it. And we'll have to do something special. Yeah, we'll have to do something special. We'll think about it. But anything you'd like to add this week, gentlemen? Or are we all good? We're feeling happy with Stadia still? We're all in a good place with our gaming lives right now?
I think even though we can be critical, we could look at it from a constructive criticism point of view. Like, we are still very invested in it, and we've been very vocal about it in terms of the most recent Connect. That yes, it wasn't brilliant, but there is so much to look forward to. And you gents touched on it last week in my absence, that we have got a significantly good library of games that are coming. For example, Sekiro. Again, I'm going to.
Oh, you went here, yeah. Tom rundown of the Connect, yeah.
It is a game of the year. It literally won game of the year. It is a game title that even though I am a Soulsborne fan, a game of, a lover of From Software games, I never got it. I never played it. So I am damn excited that we're getting it on Stadia now, because now I've got it somewhere that I will be able to play it. And I've even also said Jedi Fallen Order. We know that's coming in fall as well.
That would have been Game of the Year.
I'm getting it.
If it didn't come out so late in the year, that would have won a lot of Game of the Year things, in my opinion. And we're getting.
I would have bought it on PlayStation if I knew it was coming to Stadia, because I didn't get round to it some months later.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I realized that people have the criticisms about what has happened with the Connects and the announcements and so on. I understand those criticisms, but there are a lot of people out there who will not have picked up those games the first time around. We, as most of a community, are hardcore gamers, or we're more involved in it than the vast majority of people out there. There are billions of people on this planet who probably have never even bought Jedi Fallen Order, have never bought Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Perfect. They're coming to Stadia, you can get them. They'll be available there. And by the time they decide to get around to having a look at it, for whatever reason, they didn't have enough money when it first came around and it sort of got pushed aside because of COVID and so on, then they're in a position to go, actually, right, I'll give the Stadia thing a shot. Okay, the games are there. Brilliant. That's what we need to think about.
It pads out the library for new people coming in, so they'll look at the library and see Jedi Fallen Order, see Sekiro and things like that, and go, oh, I never played them.
Yeah, and this is the thing when you talk about the numbers, actually, it's a great point to mention, that like games like The Last of Us have all these tentpole games, then Sony come out and go, oh, it's sold X amount. We've got to remember, games like Uncharted 4, The Last of Us, the original game and stuff, they sell Spider-Man and God of War and stuff, they sell upwards of like 8 to 10 million in their life cycle. There is 110 plus million PlayStation 4s out there in the wild. That is actually a very small number in terms of people and the uptake of who actually buy them. Like, obviously the third-party titles do a lot better, but out of the player base that is essentially there, that's not a great figure. I mean, it is great financially in terms of exclusives, but like, yeah, Horizon, I think, like the same with the best launch, was like 2-point-something million. There's 110 plus million players out there who aren't playing. So that's what, a big percentage who aren't playing that game.
2% of your market.
Which is crazy. And that's when you're saying there, Tom, the billions of people who aren't hardcore gamers, aren't included, but Richie, like what you said, they'll look at the library and go, oh, Star Wars was a game of the year. Oh, Sekiro was a game of the year. Oh, what else has come out? Far Cry 6 is there. Cyberpunk's there. Valhalla. Watch Dogs Legion. FIFA.
It will Madden. Build up. It will build up.
We know a lot of lapsed gamers in the community who have got back into gaming because of Stadia.
Yeah, because it's that entry point.
Yeah.
But speaking of an entry point, let's look at an exit point right now, because we've been talking for well over an hour, as we usually do on this show. But thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for episode 44 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Thank you very much for listening. Do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all again next week. Goodbye.
Like it now.
Like it now.
Like it now.
Uno.